What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the second album, but kind of pseudo debut album of Katy Perry. Basically, this project is called One of the Boys, and it came out in the late spring of 2008. So the Katy Perry kind of came on the scene like the relative spring or so, 2008 is the relative pitch behind it. She had another album that was supposed to come out in late 2007 that was called Fingerprints, just within the pitch behind it. Apparently, she had an EP as well. I'm kind of reading Wikipedia as I'm doing this. Apparently, she had an EP called You're So Gay, which is a pretty good pitch. Gonna have to check. I'm actually going to check that out right now. She had an EP that came out in late 2007, which is called You're So Gay. I'm going to have to check that one out as far as pitches like that kind of happen. There's at least one new song on there that's not on this particular project, I'd have to say. But yeah, this particular project here, pretty much like a classic, I would have to say. This is the concept behind it. It was definitely very impactful when it happened around this time, mainly because of songs like Hot and Cold and I Kissed a Girl and some of those type pitches as far as the particular kind of went. But the album was a big deal just because it helped kick off like the trends of like early 2010s EDM and pitches like that. When you think of folks like Cobra Starship and the stuff that Rihanna was doing with like We Found Love and some of those type pitches, like a lot of folks were kind of doing that. The Calvin Harris or I think it was Calvin Harris. I think that's his name. Calvin Harris and David Guetta type sound, some of those type pitches. Just would have to say, like the sort of EDM type pitch as far as that particular kind of went. There's some other ones in there I'm not thinking of. Pitbull did some that's just, big sort of sound that was starting to happen, but it started cresting about late 2007, early 2008. No, numerous type folks kind of get here, but Katy Perry was one. Haven't reviewed Katy Perry yet. I was originally going to review her back in 2021. I was going to review her MTV Unplugged project. I am going to get to that one down the road, but it just got lost in the shuffle as far as those pitches going to happen. So I've had Katy Perry in the pipeline for 4 years now as far as that pitch kind of goes. But I'm going to look after it, just being able to say, yeah, like I was saying, this is an excellent type of album here just to be able to get. It's just the concept of being able to pay attention to like the quality of it here. Just pretty much a blockade. The singles are really excellent. And the thing that Katy Perry did with her singles is she just was like a breath of fresh air and some original flavor compared to the sorts of things that were out in like 2007, 2008. I mean, you had tastes of what was kind of going on. Rihanna's pretty dominant around this time, but this was kind of before, you know, Kelly Clarkson, Avril Lavigne were kind of different pitches. Lady Gaga wasn't out quite yet as far as those pitches kind of happened. So it's just a good concept that Katy Perry had her own lane. It's kind of the in between. I mean, this is very much a work shift project. So if you are amongst the work shift and blue collar type fare, I mean, it's standard enough to kind of have that. But just the concept, this is a work friendly, definitely SFW type project that does have the thrills about it. When you get songs like Hot and Cold that are very much songs that you can hear at work, pitches like that, but also the concept of having some excitement and getting ready to turn up just within the blue collar and kind of vanilla type sense, I'd have to say. So they just amalgamated that. Katy Perry has had. I just question how many full blown folks really recognize the stature that Katy Perry had back, 16, 17, 18 years ago, as far as that particular kind of goes, is because it's been a little while since she's been like, I mean, back in 2008 and 2009, 2010, 2012, Katy Perry would usually get at least a couple number ones per year. She just, I mean, like that Teenage Dream album from 2010 was like a number that probably had like four, five, six number ones off it. Pretty much like one of the biggest albums in pop music between 2010 to about 2012 or so. It was a big deal around that particular time. So I just look after it. It just feels like the after effects, Katy Perry not getting like the respect just within recent times and some of that, but it just feels like, that was pretty much yesteryear, just when she was like, I mean, it's not to say yesteryear, like 2008 is terribly long ago, but just the concept as to whether or not it's still in folks' memory, some of the stuff that she's done around that time is kind of like, yeah, this is an excellent album here. Is the pitch behind it, even if 2000s pitches is kind of seems somewhat retro compared to the fact that it's almost 2025. But I look after it. I think it just draws with the fact that, I think her album from 2020, Smile, which kind of was haphazard, she dropped a number of promo singles from that project, but it just felt like the aftertaste of it did not last as long as it probably needed to. And I kind of look after, I think she's in the process of like dropping an album like is in September 2024. I'm not really sure. Not really sure as full blown what's going on with that, but I think there's like an album coming out, something that pitch. She's been dropping singles, I know that, but I would have to say it's just a good concept. But just, you know, just if you wonder why the dominance is not like it was back in 2008, 2010, 2013, some of those type pitches, just the concept that, she needs props just within the con. I feel like she's kind of underrated in nowadays times to give her more props just within the pitch, considering all the number one she's had. She used to, I mean, I think she could probably almost damn near fill out a greatest hits album of just number one singles as far as those pitches going to happen, especially in like the pop or rhythmic charts and pitches like that or dance charts. But I definitely think she has more than five, six, or seven number one, something like that. So this is kind of the thing. But yeah, this album is a big deal. Definitely revolutionary for the time. Trailblazer, pitches like that. So just I'd say there were four singles off this particular type project. And I look after it like Basically her debut single in terms of like her relative mainstream debut was the number one. So I Kissed a Girl's a real nice song here. It's like an initial kind of early bird 2010s. It's like an initial kind of early bird 2010s EDM pop heater. I would definitely feel like by early bird, the concept that despite the fact that it's like spring summer of 2008, the concept behind it, this is the sort of sound that would wind up impacting radio or wound up impacting radio throughout 2010, 2011, years later, as far as that kind of went. Just initial kind of kickoff one, real trendy type song for the time. Definitely for like early 2008 when this got dropped as a single. This is a complete breath of fresh air. Just really had the spice of it. Just really aspect of just being something new and just something within the pitch. This is a continued radio staple, I'd have to say, at least for the most part. Or, well, I'd probably say, actually, I Kissed a Girl's one that you'll hear here and there, but I feel like Hot and Cold's like the more defining one, despite the fact that it didn't hit number one. It's just a little bit more affable, a little bit more makeshift friendly, I'd have to say. But I look after it, like, the song has a catchy chorus, I Kissed a Girl, and it's like a good dance jam. I would definitely feel like it's like a connecting kind of standout to kind of get here. So it's just a good concept. Real great debut single as far as that pitch kind of goes. It's an excellent concept. Just real Apple type one. There definitely need to be more songs like this on this particular album. I feel like just the overall snap and appeal of this one is like pretty much like an excellent type single to kind of get here. Just look after it. It's real nice pop smash. I mean, Katy Perry was definitely an original flavor of 2008 as far as that particular kind of went. I mean, she was kind of a rookie around this particular time in like the spring and summer of 2008. But by the time you got to 2010, it was just like she was kind of like a household name. So it didn't take very long for the ascent to kind of happen as far as that kind of went. This is a good pitch to kind of get it, but this is real mammoth type song to kind of get here. Real nice, appealing one. Hot and Cold was the second single, and like I was saying, this is kind of a particular song that just had a little bit more standard makeshift radio snaps as far as that kind of goes. But both these were an excellent 1-2 punch. Hot and Cold was actually top 3 single, but still, I feel like this is just a real affable type one. It's a good concept. It's like an evening makeshift and end of work shift kind of commute. It's like an evening makeshift and end of work shift kind of commute. I would feel like about this one, just some real good relief to kind of get just when it's like 4:30 p.m. sun setting pitches like that. Just like, okay, I'm done. Gonna go get crunk a little bit or just figure out what's gonna happen. Just got tasks done. Now it's time to switch to flip mode kind of stuff. I would have to say it's like a good hype, loosen up, get crunk type song to kind of get here. And it's like a radio staple. I would definitely feel like this song slaps pretty good. Now, obviously, I feel like the weekend bite of I Kissed a Girl. This is a lot more ferocity. That one's just in my opinion, the better one in terms of like the overall fun factor and overall electricity. But I do feel like within the standard sense, if you do need something SFW hot and cold, it's like not a bad song, and it's not a boring song either. Just when you think SFW, okay, that means dull or just more factory, something like that. It has the appeal where it just kind of meets you halfway, and it just has the concept of being something that work can play, but also something that has a relative spice about it, just within the aspect of like weekend type of feel. So it's good stuff there. Like I said, this song slaps pretty good. Just real nice jazzy type beat on here. Real nice one. Thinking of You switches it up a bit. Now this one's a lot more work shift friendly, I'd have to say, but I do like the appeal behind this one. It's just kind of one that you listen to just more amidst like the day malaise of it. It's like a fluttery kind of late day makeshift gauze. I would definitely feel like there's good concepts for that. There's like a typical kind of work a day late summer frolic, I would definitely have to say, and it's like some drudgy kind of relief. So this those concepts, this standard kind of late 2000s, early 2010s, just kind of more acoustic lick type stuff. You know, Avril Lavigne's done this on like her 2011 album, and Kelly Clarkson, Rihanna, folks like that have done some of these just standard type one, just kind of get for like that, just 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, just frolic and just go grab like an ice cream, something relative just kind of lambent frolic as far as that pitch kind of goes. The standard work a day, I'd have to say. I mean, I recommend this song, but I don't know how personally full blown frequently I would really listen to this one. It's just more of like this kind of a romantic type song to kind of get here, and just a lot more of like it's just a lot more of like a rosy kind of romantic type song to kind of get here, and just more in like a makeshift kind of SFW type format. It's like Hot and Cold has the makeshift flavor of Hot and Cold, but this is more so. I'd probably say it's maybe about 80% SFW work shift compared to Hot and Cold. It's more of like 60%, 55%, I'd have to say. Good concept for that, but just being able to say it, it's a real good pitch for that. Just real workaday type flair. But then Waking Up in Vegas is a nice one. So this has some nice appeal. This takes it back a little bit to the energy of I Kissed a Girl. I'd probably say that this one's a little bit more frolic in mind. By that, I just mean more recreational pizzazz compared to Hot and Cold. I'd say it's probably in between like I Kissed a Girl and Hot and Cold, where probably Thinking of You is the most makeshift. Hot and Cold's the second most makeshift. Waking Up in Vegas is the second most recreational, and I Kissed a Girl is the most recreational. So it's just kind of a concept about it. I look after Waking Up Vegas. It's like another good primer for like some early bird kind of taste of 2010s EDM. I'd have to say a good concept for that. It's like a turn up kind of shapeshifter type song kind of get here. Waking Up in Vegas is like another good primer for some early bird taste of 2010s EDM turn up. I would definitely have to say it's like a shapeshifter song. I would definitely feel like it's pretty thrilling. It's a good concept. I feel like this is like a relative kind of good 1-2 punch with I Kissed a Girl. I'd have to say it's just a little bit more kind of amongst the commerce of just getting ready to figure out what you're going to do. Just that excitement of, okay, I'm going to get crunk a little bit, just figuring out just the initial kind of bristle and just the goosebumps of just that particular feeling of knowing you're going to have some good times. This was a top 10 single, I'd have to say, so it's a nice round out that just Katy Perry got this many hits just off her first album or her first debut or her first mainstream album as far as those pitches kind of have it. She did have an album in 2001 called Katy Hudson. I think that's like a Christian pop, Christian rock type one. I'll have to see about that one, but it's just a good pitch for that. So, but yeah, I would definitely feel like for like weekend type flavor, waking up in Vegas may not have the full blown ferocity and this fierceness of I Kissed a Girl, but it is a good follow up just to kind of say just within that aspect. If you need some songs casually for folks that like the impact of I Kissed a Girl, but you need another song just within that that's not just like an album cut that's a little bit more casual, like, oh, this is something you could hear on the radio. So it's a good concept. It's not too frequently I can think of hearing Waking Up in Vegas, but I look after it is a good song. It was kind of a big deal. It did charted pretty high considering the impact of it. Just kind of won. And, really within rhythmic kind of radio as far as those pitches kind of happen, getting to number 9 on the Billboard 100 is definitely kind of like not getting to number 9 on the Billboard 100. That's kind of an overlooked type ratio when most folks only play like the top 1, top 2, type 3 singles as far as those kind of goes just within that pitch. So it's definitely a song that needs way more airplay in today's times, that I'd say, despite the fact that it's 17 years old, 16 and a half years old, I'd have to say. But I just look at it as good 1-2 punch with I Kissed a Girl. And that's the concept of the singles about this particular album. Now, there were some other songs on here that kind of had like there were some other songs out this particular product that had some relative noise about them, despite the fact that they weren't singles, kind of similar to what Taylor Swift and Adele kind of do. There's kind of a concept of an album that made a lot of noise just around the time. Just some extra type moments that just had like some good buzz noise and might have gotten some radio airplay pitches like that. I feel like the song possibly Mannequin, and then You're So Gay were some ones. Now, You're So Gay was actually on her EP that I was talking about from late 2007, so that's a relative pitch behind it. That is on here. Yeah, I am going to have to review that EP just to see about it, but I look after it. So the basic concept, the 12 songs on this particular album, out of the 12 songs in here, I wound up recommending 10, so the only 2 songs I don't recommend in any fashion would just be Lost and I'm Still Breathing, and basically both of those are just kind of more sunset gazing type ones. It's a little bit, if you like the tone of like Thinking of You, but just with a lot more just rosy kind of lays about it, just more kind of standard folk rock kind of pop type tunes as far as those pitches kind of happens. Is the concept behind how those particularly kind of go. Just basic ones are a little bit more lambent than the taste of what I was probably looking for. I mean, some of these just within the aspect of it, just within a more kind of sultry type tone, do have the appeal behind it. But unless you're kind of more in like a more just kind of, if you're just more in like a softer type tone, they just don't have as much spark towards it. So yeah, I mean, I appreciate this album. It's gonna get like over a 9 out of 10. I'll go ahead and say the score of this album is gonna get a 9.5 out of 10 because 10 out of 12 is definitely pretty excellent. If there had been one more song, I would have gotten a 10 out of 10, but 9.5 is definitely pretty damn good. I look after it. I do feel like the one thing about this project though is just the fact that apart from I Kissed a Girl, the overall that has to be the standout in terms of like the overall impact and this overall sheer bite. I feel like this album has plenty of gems on here, but it's just kind of in a more I mean, this is a busy album. That's the thing. There's some songs on here like Mannequin, If You Can Afford Me, a little bit of like Fingerprints, some of those type ones that just have like some tones just about it where it is kind of amongst like the concept where, yeah, you've got some recreation kind of going around, but there's also the concept of like responsibilities at hand as well. I mean, it kind of blends like the concept of SFW with like the concept of like turn up. So it's not just strictly get drunk all day pitches like that, I'd have to say. But I look after the concept, good gems on here. So I'm going to talk about like Mannequin. This is a good one. This is like a pop music kind of in between. This is like a basic kind of day commute and activity, I would feel like, with like a workaday flavor. The song has workaday flavor with like summer licks about it, and this is just a pretty busy song. So this is a concept about some of these, like I was saying, just a good concept just to be able to get like, it's a good concept kind of get the summer, despite the fact that this is kind of a busy album and something where you do have stuff in mind and you may not have as much complete spare free time. I look after it. It still has like the summer frolic in mind. It's Traverse centric, just a concept, but to Mannequin is a pretty highlighted one. Like I was talking about with some of these type busier type tones, I'd have to say it's like a pop music kind of in between. I'd have to say it's like a basic kind of day commute and activity. I would definitely feel like this has some workaday flavor with like some summer licks. I'd have to say, and it's a pretty busy song. So the thing about some of these songs is the fact that the busyness factor is kind of here. There are some ones, Mannequin, Fingerprints, if you can afford me, self-inflicted, some of those type ones, I'd have to say. Just within the tone of just having responsibilities kind of take care of just within the aspect. But the thing about these songs like Mannequin and some of these ones I described is the fact that the summer tone is kind of here. It's just kind of peppered in with like the concept. This is kind of where maybe it's not like it kind of feels more of like Tuesday, Wednesday type music in like June, July, August, some of those type fairs where it's not Friday. Like there are songs for Friday, like I would say like I Kissed a Girl, a little bit of Hot and Cold, Waking Up in Vegas, some of those type ones I'd have to say. Probably possibly like One of the Boys, the title track I'd have to say, but there is like Tuesday, Wednesday kind of music on here where it's like, hey, I've got something to do the next day and the day after, so I can't just cut loose today or try to wing it, something like that. There's just some songs that kind of have that aspect of it's a little bit of fun, maybe go to like the lake, something like that, or some standard fare, just some pitches of like have a barbecue, something like that, standard type fare, basic kind of turn up, but it's kind of constant some busyness factor, decent kind of shopping mall type music, some of that type fare. But I look after it, it's kind of is more composed kind of recreation. I would look after it, so it's a good concept for that. You're So Gay is a nice one. It's like a simmering kind of acoustic lick, kind of evening haze of a song. I'd have to say it's like an argue tinge kind of local commotion. I would feel like it's more residential bound, some of that type, very romantic type one to kind of get real nice one within that pitch, kind of like Hot and Cold, some of those type ones. Somewhat just a little bit more spicy than Waking Up in Vegas. I'd have to say this is like this is like a local commotion. I would feel like this kind of nice album cut, and the song gleams pretty well. So I like this concept. I'm gonna have to check out the EP. Like I was saying, there's actually a remix of this particular song on the EP, so I wonder about that one. Just being able to say as to how that pitch would kind of go along with it. Good stuff there. You like the production fair of that particular song? You're So Gay. It's a nice one. Fingerprints is a pretty nice bop. This is like a mid-paced kind of rowdy buzz song. I would feel like this one reminds me of Avril Lavigne. I would definitely have to say just real pop rock tinge, like a makeshift type format, something she would have done in like 2007 with like her Best Damn Thing album. It's like an in-between kind of typical summer fun and tasks to kind of get towards here. So the concept behind this standard fare, like I was saying, just workaday type fare, just within the fashion, like some recreation still maybe amongst the workday, but just the concept of just like the kind of buzz of like kind of buzz. Yeah, I've got stuff possibly that I still might have to do, but still a little bit of just like in between, like maybe lunch break type music, some of that type fare just within the summer frolicking, just within that pitch. It's kind of the concept of just appreciation, kind of haphazard kind of appreciation, I have to say. I mean, I do feel like there's songs on here for that sort of format. There are some ones on here, but it is just the concept of just saying it's kind of an album where you don't have as much free time as comparatively maybe you'd like. Some of the concepts behind it is kind of the pitch, the concepts for that. But yeah, if you can afford me, it's a nice one as well. It's like a vanilla kind of modest evening excitement. I'd have to say it's like a relatively amongst the worship type song, and this goes well with Mannequin. I'd have to say. So the pitch behind songs like Fingerprints and If You Can Afford Me is they're more pop rock kind of vanilla, kind of like radio. The thing about songs like Prince, Mannequin, If You Can Afford Me is these are like vanilla kind of pop rock. The thing about songs like Fingerprints, If You Can Afford Me, and Mannequin is like vanilla kind of radio ringers as far as those pitches kind of happen to standard fare. It's good. It's like good modest turn up to kind of get with some of these. I do feel like songs like Waking Up in Vegas and I Kissed a Girl and One of the Boys, the title track, just have a little bit more standard ferocity of a bite, but they are that like these are like I do feel like these are like good Wednesday, Thursday type turn up within the pitch behind it, just within the concept of like it's kind of more local turn up, just within the concept of having some stuff to do, but maybe not the most ferocious. I'd probably say these are probably like a 6.5, 7 out of 10 in terms of like crazy factor, just within the concept of it. Have some fun, but then there are crazier songs. That's just kind of the pitch. I look after the good concept though. Some of these type ones are nice. That's If You Can Afford Me, Fingerprints, Mannequin, some of those type ones. One of the Boys is a nice one. This has a little bit more jive spark towards it. This goes well with Waking Up in Vegas. I would definitely feel like this is definitely some evening excitement. I'd have to say this is like some good work shift relief. The song is like some good work shift relief, and this like a pop radio snap about this particular one. So I do like this one. Very similar. One of the Boys has some good overall feels about it. Just a good concept for like some of that evening. This sparkle as far as that pitch kind of happens. This excellent type concept. Kind of get some of that. I do appreciate the overall This real infectious type one to kind of get this real tone and some of that. I feel like the first three songs you hear on this particular album have the most ferocity, but that's an excellent type concept just because the energy is very electric, just and very connecting. That's it. So it's a good concept as far as that kind of goes. And then Self-Inflicted is a nice one as well. It's like a pop rock kind of radio commute stretcher. I would feel like it's like a good vanilla day dredge. I'd have to say it's like an Aaron's tune, I would say, and it feels like a single. I would have to say about that. So it's like a pop rock type one. There's plenty of songs on here that have that radio bite. The thing about this particular album is a lot of this is just pretty casual. I'd have to say the impact of it. There's a lot of songs like, despite the fact that this had four, like I was saying, this album had a lot of songs that had some popularity about them, despite the fact that it was not that it only had four singles. I'd say I do feel like some songs like "You're So Gay," "Mannequin," some of those type ones. Probably "One of the Boys," the title track. These are just some extra type ones. But I'd also say that "Self-Inflicted" was one that probably could have been a single had it been promoted properly. There's just some nice ones, just some of that standard kind of radio dredge. Pretty much like a car stretcher. I'd say good concept for that. Reminds me of something that you'd listen to along with "Waking Up in Vegas" and "One of the Boys." I'd say it's just a little bit more of like a dreary type one. I would feel like. But yeah, basically casual and social factors pretty much off the scale on this particular product, just within the concept. I mean, despite the fact that some of these are more makeshift ready, if you do have like SFW buddies pitches like that, the standard workaday type fare where it's Wednesday for everyone, not just it's Friday for some people, Wednesday for you, some of those type pitches. It is a good concept, kind of has some of that social appeal that a lot of this just has connecting is being able to say it. So look after it just has a lot of radio snap ups. So yeah, this album gets a 9.5 out of 10. I'd have to say the concept behind the social score, that's kind of tricky. I look after, I think I'm gonna give the social score. I mean, I said that it has the appeal behind it, but in terms of what I would score it, just in terms of the affability behind some of that, I'd probably say probably like a 9 out of 10. I feel like the appeal behind it, the first three songs that you hear have a lot of weekend ferocity. There's plenty of good Wednesday type turn up as far as those pitches kind of go. Some songs like Mannequin, some songs like Fingerprints, some songs like If You Can Afford Me, and a little bit of Self-Inflicted, some of those type ones, some car stretchers, some good concepts like that, just some standard fare, just like commute, just kind of out and about, just errands, tasks, just being relatively. I mean, this is actually a pretty out and about type product, not so much of at the house, minus like the songs like maybe possibly Lost and I'm Still Breathing, and just for more sunset gazing. I'd have to say more rosy, I'd have to say, but I look after it. This has plenty of good social bite about it. It's just the concept that it just depends upon what you're looking for. I mean, I look after it. If you do, like, I definitely feel like there's folks like Attack Attack and Cobra Starship and like Jeffree Star and Lady Gaga, some of those type of folks that do like songs like I Kissed a Girl, and that has that real bite about it. And I feel like that's the concept. I realize that there are more songs like this on Teenage Dream and pitches like that, but it just kind of has the appeal that I think it was a spice that Katy Perry couldn't overdo, just to not be typecast as far as those pitches going to go, just to not have only that type of single as far as that particular going to go. So it's a varietized project, which I look after it. The makeshift on here is pretty much in good display. So it's definitely like a good album just as an accompaniment to like, just as like an accompaniment to work life and just pitches like that. So it has Friday music a little bit, Wednesday music more often, and like some good this summer commerce just amongst the concept of just being a busybody and pitches like that. So it's a good concept for how that particular gun goes. But I just look after it. Need a little bit more snap. I think it probably it's more of like a personal complaint, but I do like the concept of it. It's just more in terms of more full blown songs I would listen to. It's less than like the standard folks. But I do feel like for standard folks that don't need as much craziness, that is the impact. So 9 social. In terms of the future, like Katy Perry, like I was saying, has put out is getting ready to put out like a new project in terms like as recent as September 2024. Smile is not that old either. That's a relative type one that has like 5, 6, 7 singles on there, something like that. So that's a pretty good project as well. Some good pitches like that. I'd have to say, so I'm going to get to smart Katy Perry. Maybe down the road, I'll review that You're So Gay EP as far as those pitches going to happen. I'm definitely going to review her MTV Unplugged project. So there are some ones to get to. Good appeal about it. And this is a classic relative debut to kind of say, and it just has a lot of overall social bite and casual type appeal, SFW type appeal as well.